My name is Caroline Othim. I work with the NTA, National Taxpayer Association, and it's an honor to have you here today as we are going to launch some of the work that we have been doing in collaboration with CIPE, Center for International Private Enterprise. So let me introduce Martin to also get to introduce the rest of the participants that didn't have a chance to introduce themselves, and to also give us his opening remarks and guide us on the way forward about the program.
On behalf of National Taxpayer Association and the partners, we call ourselves Budget Group. I want to welcome each one and every one of you to this particular meeting. We don't take it for granted that you made it to this particular meeting. And as I said, we have three launches of the in this meeting. We have what we call alternative budget. From one of the partner is from Rift Valley, was in Gishu, and another partner is from Nairobi. Then we also have a report on the budget monitoring tool that all will be launched in this particular meeting. Then we will have an interaction. So I want to invite my colleague from Institute of Economic Affairs just for some few remarks.
My name is Duncan Otieno. I work for the Institute of Economic Affairs and a Public Finance Management Program. And the Institute of Economic Affairs is a public policy think tank that works towards promoting pluralism of ideas by bringing people together and pursuing different alternative policy issues around research. And we do we do so much work in budget issues, whereby we engage the people through capacity building, through research that we undertake and produce our output in terms of publications. So we also work with partners that enable us to undertake this work. And we work with these organizations in trying to replicate the work that we do at the national level in the counties. We realize that with the coming in of devolution, there's increased demand and increased agitation for citizen enlightenment and accountability issues. And so we realized that we could not be everywhere. That's why we came together and partnered with these organizations, including NTA, to ensure that even as much as we are in Nairobi, work still is done at the grassroots. And that is why we partnered with them in promoting their technical capacity and also liaising with them in some of these issues. So today, as a partner, we are happy to be here and to witness this occasion. And I don't think I have much. I would always like to ensure that I be brief and to the point. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next session, which will have different presentations on the alternative county budgets that have been developed by different organizations at that level. So first, to take us through the alternative citizen budget that they developed will be James Muraguri from Global Empowerment Initiative. Then he'll be followed by Muhuri, and then Heraf, and lastly, Kerio Center.
Global Empowerment Initiative, to introduce who we are. We are an NGO founded in 2006 as a community-based organization and registered in 2014 as an NGO by the Coordination Board. We currently are working in Kisumu, Kwale, and Makueni. The objective around the county alternative budget project was to strengthen transparent and participatory decision-making in the budget process in Makueni County. What process did we go through, and to us resorting, in making the recommendations we made in the citizens' alternative budget. We had a consultative meeting with CSOs in Makueni last year, and then to pick the priorities, broadly all the priorities that the citizens thought around, what could be, considered for financing, and then we went in back again for another session to validate, the priorities, and in between that session. We did analysis of the county government budget for the period 2013 when the counties came into being, and 2014-2015 to just look at how are the allocations, how were the local revenues, performance. And then we did analysis and an awareness and feedback sessions on the county fiscal strategy paper for 2015. So we had a session to look at the CFSP, what was prepared to inform the budget process for 2015. And then we had the budget hearings for the coming financial year. And finally, we had the launch of the same. Whatever we corrected, we had an opportunity to discuss the same, those feedbacks, and to present to the county government of Makueni. We want to acknowledge CIPE for support, IEA for working with us, and the Makueni County Participatory Budget Network, and GAY staff for the support. Thank you very much.
We did the Citizens Alternative Budget for Kilifi County, and first introduced Muhuri. Muhuri is a non-governmental organization that was established in 1997. The main aim was to promote the struggle for human rights. For the Citizen Alternative Budget, we looked into the health sector, education, agriculture, environment, and trade. Lessons learned was networking and partnership is important with other CSOs. Building trust and involving the county secretary in charge of the department sector is very critical so as to push for our agenda. The government needs to tap alternative sources of revenue to supplement the equity share from the national government, as the international community, such as the international community who sponsor health. The use of electronic collection of revenue in order to maximize and exploit the full potential of revenue collected, because most of the times you hear that some of the development projects were not considered because they do not have enough resources. So we felt that if they could use electronic collection of revenue instead of the funds getting into other people's pockets, it can go to where it is intended. Thank you.
My name is Beatrice. I work with an organization called Health Rights Advocacy Forum. I'll take you briefly through what we were able to do. HERAF was working in Nyeri County. And this is just an introduction of who HERAF is, but our main strength is looking at health from a human rights perspective. We had held this process last year, and this year we still held it again. But the people were asking, after we made the proposals last year, how is it that we are not seeing our inputs reflected into the budget? Or even if we are seeing some inputs, very little of it is going into the budget of the county. So we are really asking that question, and the more need for the civil society to even empower them more to be able to follow the process throughout.
This is Kerio Center. So Kerio Center is a national NGO established in 2011 and registered in 2012, operates in Nandi, Trans Nzoia County, and Elgeyo-Marakwet County. Focus areas promoting accountability, transparency, and participatory process. To do that, we do analysis of the county budgets, reports, and plans, development plan studies, and try to simplify that, and then we disseminate with various stakeholders. So lessons, you compare Elgeyo-Marakwet, for example, county like Wasingishu, there's good environment budget that focuses in Elgeyo-Marakwet County. The county has an act, that's what I say. Then we can just share with you the presentation, you can look at the rest. This was the final slide.
Like other counties are presented, we also did our Citizens Alternative Budget for the second year running. In terms of opportunities, I think we have quite some goodwill in Migori County to implement devolution. We have seen so much success, but Migori prides itself as an agricultural county. But the problem is we have quite some unpredictable weather, and the county still relies on rain-fed agriculture, so that's quite a challenge to us in Migori County. And then we see an opportunity to diversify sources of financing the county government budget through public-private partnerships. Some have happened, like in the water sector, but we still call for more. There's quite a big opportunity in that. And then the final challenge that we listed is access to budget information. I think like other counties, that's really a big problem. That is the end of our presentation.
This tool that we are doing today, it will be available on our website, and we want to see organizations actually taking that tool and using them for their own assessment and launching a report like this one. We will not say that somebody pays a fee to use it. It will be free of charge because it was developed based on efforts by so many stakeholders. So this tool is available. When you go to our website after this launch, you'll find it. You can use it for your own monitoring so that we can be able to cover a very big area. Lessons, inclusion of the pilot provided actually very important feedback to this particular tool. And my own opinion is that if you increase in terms of information, more information to be captured in this tool, you will be weakening it. Why you produce so many or a very big volume of the report that might, at the end of the day, go to waste. So briefly, that's about the tool. We've produced different reports, one specifically a tool and another a different report that came from the tool that we will also be sharing at the end of this particular meeting. So thank you so much.
We know devolution is here with us. As I had shared, if you check the recent reports from Transparency International, World Bank, and other research institutions, over 78% of Kenyans support devolution. And I would pick from my colleague from CRA, it is our responsibility to really ensure that devolution succeeds. So when we are launching today the budget tracking tool for the various county governments, I want to say that as private sectors, we really support this, and we have picked some copies. We are going to share with the different stakeholders at the county level, and I want to believe that counties are there with the open door policies. I've been engaging several governors. My dear colleagues, they really need your support. They really need your inputs. We only need to package our information well. As the private sectors, county government, national government, non-state actors, including the National Taxpayers Association, we need to pool our resources together, work together to enhance the productivity at the county level. May God bless you.
Madam Chief Guest, we at NTA, we are happy to be here again today. I think we've been around for almost 7 years, and some of the reports we've given before on the CDF have actually changed the mindsets of our politicians. They know that somebody is watching. And you'll be surprised, even the Honorable Prime Minister has been subject of our audit. The President, the current President, has been subject to our audit, and some of the findings do not please them. But we say things the way we find them. And where we are now, moving to the counties, this is where the real money now is. This is where the main challenges are in terms of citizen participation. Although citizens really want to know what's going on, that's why I asked the question, how was the buy-in from all the reports you gave us? Because we know the politicians do not want to be scrutinized what they are doing with the money. I'm not happy with the Nyeri budget on the health. It's too much, and you don't really need, I come from Nyeri myself, maybe you don't know. We have everything to do with healthcare, everything. You don't need to create anything else, it is there. Maybe commodities is something we want to see some improvement. Commodities, maybe the healthcare workers, the distribution there. But it does not have to consume the amount of money that is shown there. So we need really to do a little more work when we go to do the actual, what Martin has promised us. This was a pilot, right? We're going to do the real work in the next planning session. It is my pleasure now to welcome our chief guest to give us her words of wisdom.
I want to acknowledge that we have been working to some extent with the National Taxpayer Association. Actually, we have an MOU signed. This budget monitoring should have been done, maybe even a year ago. But we are happy as a commission that there is light. We seem to be moving now, and I want to encourage you to move, and move very fast. It's about budgets. And the budget gives us the expenditure and the revenue sources. This is where I want to spend my money. This is where I'm going to get resources. Now, as a civil society and good Kenyans who want to be proactive, did you get involved, or to what extent did you get involved in deciding where the money should be spent? we have a whole 6 or 8 months of planning processes before we come to the budgets. Budget is an end result, but this process starts somewhere else. Before you start monitoring how I have spent the budgets, what was your level of involvement in planning for these budgets? Did you participate in the preparation of the county integrated development plan? It's a 5-year plan. In there, we have the priorities. That document has been approved by the county assemblies. It remains the Vision 2030 for the county. It's an equivalent of the medium-term plan at the national level, operationalizing the Vision 2030. So we need to be also proactive and identify the priorities of our county government. Then, those are 5-year. We become more realistic and ask us, somebody asks here, that the CIDB for one county requires these much billions. The county on annual basis has got these billions of money. So even if you do the 5-year, it's a very unrealistic CIDP. What was your role? And then you may also be not informed that borrowing framework is in place, that the county governments can borrow up to 20% of their revenue. So as much as from their own revenue, the transfer, it looks like they cannot meet the target. If you bring in the borrowing framework and this county is able to borrow, does the CIDB still become unrealistic? A number of county governments have gotten grants. The World Bank has come in, the NIDA has come in on the health sector. A number of county government, a number of countries outside this country are willing to support a number of county governments as long as they have in place good checks and balances. So we need to look at how viable those CIDP are within the 5-year, but within a broader context. Then you have the annual plans. Each county government needs to extract an annual plan from the priorities of the 5-year plans. If you look at most CIDPs, they were done by consultants, and they are half complete. They do not have an implementation matrix. This is a 5-year plan. It is actually a wish list. What everybody said in the county found its way there. The consultant or the technical people at the county level should have been able to prepare an implementation matrix. Yes, we have these 1,000 priorities. Year 1, we do this. Year 2, we do this. Year 3, we do this at this cost. Most CIDBs do not have that. And therefore, it's a wish list. So every year they extract whatever they want. Have you been involved in that 1-year priority list? Because that's what is finding its way to the budget. Now, beyond the 1-year annual budget of the counties, you have the county budget review outlook paper. You review the previous year. You have your lesson you have learned. You take into account any risks, either in terms of revenue, in terms of procurement. You incorporate them. You look at the macro risk within your county. You look at your own economic activities, and then you say, okay, this is our budget review outlook paper. Now you move on to do the county fiscal strategy paper. You are still in the planning process at the county level. Now in the county fiscal strategy paper, you spell out all your fiscal risks. How much money would I get? Now you look at your own absorption rates. I allocated money to health this much, money to agriculture, money to roads. How do the different sectors perform? What are the new priorities coming into play? What are we learning? What are we changing? Are there policy shifts? Are there financial shifts? They are all of them spelled in the county fiscal strategy paper. Actually, in accordance with the PFM Act, there should be negligible variation between the budget and the county fiscal strategy paper. The regulations before the House, they have been gazetted. The proposal is 1%. That you cannot review the budget beyond 1%. Because also in the last 2 years, the Assembly has been very ambitious. So when the executive brings in the budget, they have their own consultants writing another budget. So they throw out what the executive has brought, put in a new budget, demand for 25% of the money, and tell the county executive, you can go and spend the remaining amount of money. Somebody asks here that we should be also asking or checking on the budget of the county assemblies. The county assemblies is purely a recurrent vote. County assemblies provide oversight. the legislators, they don't implement projects. So the only thing you should be watching, or the question to be added in this tool, is how many bills have you passed as a county assembly? And how useful are they? You can pass so many bills, but there are segments of one bill. You pass this half, another half, otherwise it will come out in one bigger bill. But then the issue here is you have the county fiscal strategy paper, which gives you the sectoral ceilings. As people, we should be more careful on what comes out on that document, because any amendment in the budget should be in line with the county fiscal strategy paper. What I'm trying to say is this: as civil society, as the private sector, we should get involved in the planning phase. Now, there is the issue that we also need to address. A budget has got two segments: the expenditure side, the revenue side. The revenue side, except for the transfer, which is from the national government, county governments are really unrealistic in estimating their own revenues. The former local authorities used to correct some money. People have said a number of counties are correcting less than the former local authorities. The figures I have, only 5 counties have corrected less. Only 5. One of which is Laikipia. And Laikipia was hived off from Nyahururu. You know, it doesn't even have a headquarters. It has no property to tax. You can explain. 2 of them are in the north and 1 in the coast. Yeah? So the issue is also, we are also becoming part of the chorus. Yeah? That the county governments are correcting less than the former, which is not true. The issue here is the overprojection of own revenue. The PFM requires county governments to present a balanced budget. To beat that requirement, what do? You protect your own revenue. Therefore, Kisii County says the former municipal council used to correct 100 million, or they're about 200 million. Then when my governor comes into place, he says he's going to correct 1.2 billion. In your first year in office, you can, Nairobi can correct 50 billion, or Naroko, or Mombasa. But then you must put in place systems. The number of cars we park in Nairobi here will give them 10 billion. But you must ensure that when I walk into a car park, because I'm entering a bank and I'll take only 5 minutes, I don't tell the attendant, just give me 2 minutes. We do it. Why should I pay 240 shillings when I'm entering a bank for 5 minutes? And I'm going back to my car, the comfort of the parking in my office. So I'll tell the attendant, 5 minutes. Yeah? I kwambia ni sawa, then it means those guys who tow cars are not nearby. So you walk in the ATM, get your money, come back, give them 50 shillings or 20 shillings and do what? And walk away. Can I park for the length of time I'm using the car park? Can there be a minimum car park that if you park within less than 1 hour, I pay 50? I'll be comfortable, willingly paying 50. For 5 minutes, I enter the bank and drive my car away. But for me to pay 300 shillings to park for 5 minutes and walk away, I have every incentive to bribe the attendant with the 50 shillings and walk away. But the issue here is, let's also look at the revenue side. Someone asked about the automation. That, okay, it's not possible for mamas, they will know. Let's actually ask them that when you pay the market fee, do you get a receipt? They don't get a receipt. Those green mamas or boys, they go around, ujalipa, bow, and ujalipa, you know. And then they actually go in the evening. And I'm best jauza. So during about lunchtime, they'll also walk around, and there are no receipts. So it's also good not only to look at the expenditure side. Let's also look at the revenue side. Ask the same audience in terms of revenue. You are asking them about the taxes. Nobody is happy about the tax system. So if you look at with the ultimate goal in mind, then it's a good thing. But if you come and ask me about the new taxes, am I happy? I say, no, I'm not happy. All of us, actually the human mind wants free things. you want free grades, you want free food, you want free everything. So when you come and ask me whether I'm happy that the county government has imposed this chicken tax, I don't know what tax, or the pig tax, you know, somebody must first pay. And those of us who pay the national tax, we are paid. And they have gotten a transfer of 3 billion Kenya shillings. Let them also support in their own little way by paying the user fee. So we need to have a balanced assessment of the county government. Let's ask them how much money they have, if they want services improved. Also ask them a general question. How do they expect the county government to improve the services? One, if they don't want to pay the taxes, if they don't want the taxes increased, because if you assess the increment, apart from few counties, which they have got either one tax doubling, others are increasing either by 10% or by 20% from 5 shillings to 7 shillings, or from 5 to 10, or the grave tax from, I don't know, 200 to 300. You don't want to pay, but if you look at when Nairobi was trying to acquire another grave site, the billions of money was being asked. So if you want to pay the same 500 shillings for a grave in Rangata, how will Nairobi acquire another one, I don't know, in Ruai, which is costing billions of shillings? So there's that balance that we need to bring in and remain objective. This is a good initiative. We'll continue to support our civil society organizations. In particular, we are happy with what the National Taxpayer Association has come with. We acknowledge the financial support of the Center for International Private Enterprise. And you need to loop in more civil society organizations so that you don't duplicate. Everybody has interest in this county governments. We have expectations of them, we want to check them. But if we can consolidate our efforts, then it will be easier for us to manage even the outputs that we get. So we will support you. If you get a hit, we have our contacts. The commission has its own cloud there. When it says the commission is also in it, it gives also its own mileage. I want to call on everybody who had their own reports. We come here, we commission the tool, and we launch the reports. These are pilots. Pilots are not necessarily methodologically constrained. When you are piloting, you want to see if questions are either ambiguous, you change them, that you will get consistent answers, so you don't have necessarily to follow, you know, a random sample or a stratified sample. You want to test the tools. Are the questions clear? Do I need to make them more clearer? So these are pilot. And from the pilot, they have been able to amend. The tool will follow a particular methodological aspect when it's being implemented. The budget monitoring tool, having been prepared by a number of civil society organizations with support from the Commission on Revenue Allocation and other research institutes, want to commission this tool, that it officially becomes an official document to be used to collect information on the budget of various counties.
NTA, through the support of Center for International Private Enterprises and other partners, more than 20 partners actually came together to develop what we call a budget monitoring tool. We had quite an elaborate process that we went through to develop a budget monitoring tool that is supposed to be used for monitoring the service delivery. As counties spend the money, we wanted to know how citizens perceive in terms of service delivery. So we wanted a tool, a comprehensive tool that can be actually used to bring out the perception survey of the citizens. So for the last 1 year, NTA has been consulting with partners, among them IEA, private sector, who are represented by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and even oversight institutions in the government, and other commissions that are very relevant in terms of devolution, and the presence of CRA is just a testimony about the importance of this particular function, and in terms of even how they take seriously the issues of devolution and use of the funds. So after developing the tool, we did a pilot in Nyeri County, where we just applied the tool to see if it can be able to work. And what I want to take you through is both what we were looking for in the tool and what are some of the key findings in that particular pilot. Of course, the most important thing was to see how the tool is working. So we've combined, in the presentation, I've combined the tool plus what came out from that particular tool. And we focused on some key areas where, counties are responsible for. One of it is health. So for the health sector, we actually focused on issues like operating time of the health facilities, maternity services, ambulances. You've seen so many governors operating ambulances. So we wanted to see if citizens are really feeling those particular services. Referral services, availability of trucks in the health facilities, cleanliness of the health facilities, waiting time when the patients go to the hospital. How much time do they wait before they are served? We also looked at the issue about staffing. We wanted to see if we have adequate staff in those particular health facilities, and distance to the nearest health facility. And it was all perception. So we wanted to hear it from the citizens themselves in terms of how they are perceiving the service delivery. Some of the key highlights from that in the health sector was that the county government allocated actually 39.1% of the budget in 2014-2015 in terms of the health sector. One of the key issues that were coming on was that 36% of the people say that actually maternity had improved. Maternity services in Nyeri County had improved. But some 6 respondents actually came out very strongly and reported that district hospitals, hospital in the county, actually they shun away first-time mothers. When first-time mothers want to deliver from the hospital, they are not much welcomed in those particular health facilities. Ambulances, still people feel that they are not quite enough in terms of how the service is being delivered. And one of the issues that was coming when we were talking to the people was that actually ambulances are shared. They are not readily available in those particular facilities. Referral services, they have improved by 66%. Availability of medicines received a biggest percentage of 63%, but 23% said no. Medicines are not readily available in the health facilities, and why they said that was that whatever medicine they get from this particular health facility was just prescription, the painkillers, the common drugs that are available in those particular health facilities. On revenue, we just looked at the amount of taxes that people pay. They were supposed to compare the taxes they pay now and the last year. That was 2014-2015 and 2014-2013. If it has increased, just a perception from what they pay, has it increased? We also wanted to know if the county has introduced new taxes from the perception point of view. Modes of payment, if they feel that modes of payment are very, are they comfortable? Are they comfortable with the mode of payment, or they're strained? And how the taxes are used. Are they comfortable with how the taxes are used in terms of delivering the services? And the fairness of the rates they pay compared to to the previous year. We also looked at issues about trade licenses. For the private sector, that is an area where they'll be very comfortable in terms of they want to a situation where they can be able to get a license within a very short time. So we asked them about time required to get the license, if actually that time is fair to them, and getting a new license and even renewing a license. The transparency of the process of getting a license, was it fair based on their perception? Do we have markets in the county? Does the county has designated areas where traders can be allocated to sell? Number of markets, cleanliness and maintenance of those particular markets, accessibility of those markets, market user fees, and then lighting within the markets. For ordinary citizens, we wanted to see charges and rates that they pay. If they are satisfied, mode of payment of those services, are they? Is it comfortable for them to pay, or they are strained to pay? utilization of the collected charges and rates in terms of, as we compare with the service delivery. Just from that, we were able to get 43% maintain that there was no change. Actually, 44% said that the amount of taxes they pay has actually increased, and they were calling that it has to be revised. 2/3 of the respondents said that the time required to renew a license had reduced in comparison to the previous year. And for us, this is a very positive move when people say that. More than half of those interviewed said that there's transparency in terms of when you want to get a license to do your business. The process is transparent enough, which means there's little corruption in that particular process. Then we also looked at transport, and we looked at the pass park. First of all, we looked at the issue of cleanliness of the pass park. If it is maintained, we looked at the county roads, we looked at the parking fees. Of course, counties are raising revenue, and they are raising revenue from those particular areas. Availability of usable toilets in the county. Clear entry and exit points in terms of the pass park. Like when you go to the pass park, we were asking if there are very clear entry and exit, so that we don't have that confusion. We have a very good flow. And then earmarked places for parking for different users of the pass park. Of course, we have taxis, we have the passenger vehicles, so we wanted to know if they are satisfied with such issues. And what we found out was that 31% maintained that there was no change, 20% said that the sector has actually worsened. And most of the complaint was that the pass park is actually had no earmarked places for different users. Vehicles and motorists scramble for spaces, and it is disorderly. So there's no order in that particular pass park. That's what came from the citizens. We also looked at agriculture, and we looked at things like animal disease control, access to essential services, which are very important in terms of agriculture. And we talk about Nyeri. Nyeri actually is agriculture is the backbone of the activities in that place, even in terms of for people's revenue. We looked at availability of livestock sale yards, cleanliness of the abattoirs, access to information and marketing of produce, availability of farm inputs, cost of farm inputs. We've seen governments actually subsidizing the fertilizers. So we really wanted to know from the people's perception what has changed. Availability of teapots when their produce is ready, where they said, do we have them? What we found out was that 23.9% said there was no change, 11.9% said the sector actually had worsened, and 19% claimed that they lack information about access to essential services. But a third of the respondents were satisfied with information flow. And actually what they say that they can now easily get information from the sub-county offices, in all the sub-county offices. While 46% were satisfied with the management of cooperative societies, 28% were not satisfied. Remember in Nyeri, the issue of cooperative societies because of the coffee. So that is a very important issue in Nyeri. 28% were not satisfied, and they were alleging corruption in the cooperative society. We also looked at the issue of education, and for education we focused on what is it that the counties are responsible for. So we looked at ECD and polytechnics. Availability of teachers, stroke instructors for polytechnics, availability of learning materials, instruction materials, toilets, playgrounds, desks, salaries for the instructors. What we found out was that 58% maintained that there was no change in the sector. A third of the respondents said the school facility had actually worsened. 16% say there's an improvement in availability of learning material in the ECD, while 18% said that polytechnics had actually improved. But then comments came from the community that the community are still contributing for the provision of materials. So they are actually attributing the improvement in ECD and polytechnics to their community initiative in terms of contributing material for their actually those particular institutions. Another area that we focus is budget transparency. The Constitution has been very clear about citizen participation. We wanted to see, to know if people are satisfied in terms of their participation. So the area focused on meeting notifications, notices given in good time to enhance citizen participation, access to easy to understand budget information, adherence to the meeting agendas, punctuality of the meetings. There's one thing to call for a meeting, and there's another thing to go early to that particular meeting. And then most important issue that we focused on was feedback from the government on public inputs. Like, for example, when the government is consulting the citizens, does it go back and give feedback in terms of what it has consulted? So what we found out was that 21% said there's no timely notification from the county government. 14% says there's no change. 42% said there were notable changes pertaining access to easy to understand information, which means the county is making an effort in terms of accessing that information so that people can be able to understand. But at 6% said the situation has actually worsened. On county's effort to make again information is improving easy to understand information. 21% cited an improvement. 43% said county government has somewhat improved in adhering to the meeting agenda, such that when the meeting is supposed to be for discussing about the budget, then the county government was sticking to those particular meetings, agendas, said in the calling for those particular meetings. The biggest disappointment, 53.8%, was lack of feedback mechanism by the county government. Like when citizens are putting in the budget process, do they get to hear what was adopted from their contribution? So the feedback mechanism received the biggest disappointment from the people of the county. Maybe just a bit of challenge that we encountered when doing this particular report was that getting the right respondents. We still don't have so many people attending these particular meetings, and even those who attend, some of them do not understand why they are attending those particular meetings. They have very little information even after the meeting, and it has to do because of the technicality of the budget process. So many people don't understand. Then the unique county situations. Of course, we've developed a tool that is supposed to be replicated across the country, but we realize that every county has a very unique situation. Like, for example, when we talk about Nyeri, the issue of cooperative society, because of coffee, because of agriculture sector, takes center stage. When you go to Northeastern, it might be a totally different area. So the tool, yes, we have the tool, but it has to be tailored to specific areas in terms of the area that you are focusing on. Then the bulkiness of the information. When we produced the report was too big, and our worry was that you can have a very good report, give it to the county government, but because of the report is too big, they might not be able to to make use of it. So we realized we had to reduce it, and in reducing it, you lose quite a lot of information that is very important to the county. Then opportunities, of course, we've had some demand from the tool. Of course, we have interacted with the county assembly members who also want to see the report in terms of holding the executive accountable for, in terms of how they are using the money. Another important thing that about this process is that the tool is available to any person who wants to use, both from civil society, from governments, and from private sector. Any person who wants this tool can be able to access this tool through our website and use it actually for free. We don't sell it because we want people to be involved in terms of such like surveys, so that counties can be able to learn a lesson or two. But the inclusion of the pilot was very important because it gave us, generated a lot of comprehensive information for this particular project. So ladies and gentlemen, that is what I wanted to present. Thank you so much.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the National Taxpayer Association for this effort. In the devolved system of government, the public participation, is a key component in the new constitution. And so definitely they're setting the pace in finding ways to to involve more people in public participation and in contributing to the budget. It's 2 years of devolution so far, and a CRA, our view is that the counties have done well over the last 2 years. There's obviously a lot more to be done, and there's lots of things to be improved, but it's 2 years. It's a long journey, and every year is going to be marked by improvement. So one thing that is going to contribute significantly to improvement is actually demands by citizens and keen awareness of the budgets, what is supposed to be accomplished, and what needs to be improved, and close monitoring by citizens on these issues. So we welcome this initiative. We are very, very happy to be associated, to note what has been accomplished, and I think I'll hand over to my colleague now to say more about this.
As a commission, and as you are aware, we allocate resources equitably between the national government and the county governments, and among the 47 county governments. Based on the resources transferred to the 47 county governments, they prepare a budget. And I want to note one thing, that the budget is a very technical tool. Not every Kenyan can read the budget and understand what a county government or the national government is saying. You need to be having some good technical capacity to be able to understand a budget. It gives you the revenues that the counties have to use. It tells you the sources of those revenues, and also it gives you the expenditures. From the budget, you are able to identify as a citizen the priorities of a particular government, and by extension, a particular county government. So as citizens, or as a civil society, it is important to understand where a county government is coming from. We have been having 50 years of centralized planning, when the counties used to receive very little money, and it was being factored in the national government budget. So you need to be able to assess how well we are doing as a county government, or as county governments are doing, to be able to know initially where were they, what is our baseline. So as the National Taxpayer Association, you need to document the baseline. Where are the county governments starting? Because if you are assessing improvement in service delivery, you must be having the benchmark, that this is where we were, this is how bad the car park was, this is how bad the schools were, there were no polytechnics, or there were no equipment, and therefore, through baby steps, the county governments are making some progress. As a commission, we reckon that county governments are making good progress. The issue here is on the sufficiency of the budget. The amount of money county governments are getting in terms of transfers is not adequate. One, in their first year of operation, much of the activity was to set up government systems. As a county government, you must establish a system. You must put in place all the requisite operational mechanisms. You must computerize your systems before even you collect more revenue. So there are a number of things which go with coming into place anew. Now, after setting up those systems, you need the human capacity. A number of county governments do not have the necessary capacity, either because of their geographical location and because of the demand of citizens in terms of high salaries and wages. There are few of you who are willing to go and work in the particular counties. So those counties also have their own challenges over and above the resources they have. They may be having a very good budget, but implementing that budget for you to monitor now the service delivery is another challenge. So we need to understand that there are a number of things we are doing. And then you are monitoring the improvement in service delivery. We are monitoring, the citizen perception. As the National Taxpayer Association, when you analyze those responses, their perceptions from my point of view. And my point of view as a citizen is I'll be happier if the government gave all services for free. Nobody is necessarily happier with new taxes. So as a citizen, you're like, okay, people are unhappy. They're unhappy with what? With the new taxes. Maybe those taxes, you need to go back in the books of the budgets of those county governments, in the books of local authorities, and see, actually, are those budgets new? Because over the last 2 years, we have seen a number of government's budgets being resisted by the citizens. The issue is we were not consulted, the county government is introducing new taxes. Those taxes are not new. If you go to the former local authority finance bills, those taxes were there, but they were never implemented. So when the county government is trying to implement them, the citizens are feeling like, no, this county government is coming in to implement new taxes. And you also need to be able to strike a balance. They are saying, yes, the county government has improved here, the county government has improved here, the county government has improved here. That improvement has cost the county government's funds. And those funds, the county government and any government for that matter don't have money of their own. It is money from the taxes. So you need to strike a balance between improvement in service delivery and the willingness of the citizens to willingly pay their taxes. And this tool, what we need to look at is we're asking the citizens, how much money is the county government spending? Say, for example, on health, on education, on roads, as a percentage of the overall budget. There's also one thing I think NTA should go ahead and do ahead of the city, especially in the analysis. The issue here is how much money did the national government, how much money did the Commission on Revenue allocate for that function? Because if you look at the recommendation by the Commission on Revenue allocation on the division of revenue, we have simplified there how much money goes to the Ministry of Health or health collectively for the 47 county governments. How much money goes to early childhood education? How much money goes to agriculture? So besides a county government allocating a particular percentage over its overall budget, you need to go ahead and see what was the percentage from the Commission on Revenue recommendation of the division, so that you are able to tie things. Some counties, yes, they have gone ahead and allocated, for example, 60% to development. And it's because from the overall allocation from the Commission on Revenue, they were allocated additional resources to be able to do catching up in terms of the marginalized counties. So they have additional resources. You can't compare the budget of Turkana, Mandera, Wajir to the one of Nyamira, Kisii, and Kiambu and Nyeri. The counties in the north and the coastal regions have got more resources for redistribution, to allocate more to development, to be able to do the catching up. The ones in Nairobi and Nyeri and Kiambu, they have the bare minimum of the services. What they are doing is the maintenance of those services. And much of their resources, therefore, goes to recurrent expenditure. Not because of their own design, but because of what they'll be able to inherit. So it is good, it's a good monitoring, the budget monitoring tool. It will tell us the improvements we are seeing from one year to another one. But what I would encourage the National Taxpayer Association is that you remain objective. You encourage county governments to be able to improve the services so that we don't necessarily look as if we are critiquing the county governments. We need to be able to be proactive also, that we have the county budget and economic forums where we can participate as civil societies. So let's go in and participate fast. Let's get involved in the preparation of the county budget review outlook paper. Let's move ahead as civil society and get involved in the preparation of the county fiscal strategy paper. Let's move on so that our priorities are taken into during the planning phase. So that when it comes now to the preparation of the budget, we can also now ask them, these are the priorities. Why is the budget not being linked very well to the priorities as specified actually in the county integrated development plans, which are there? The counties prepare annual budget plan, annual plans on which they base their budget. So let's get involved in all these documents so that when we come on to monitor, we are monitoring having known how far we have walked. But if we sit on at the edge, then the county sets wrong priorities. The wrong priorities are approved by the county assemblies. Then the allocations are done. Then we come to monitor and say, the budget only allocated 1%. If you go back to the county fiscal strategy paper, it was 1%, and as a civil society, we did not complain. So from the Commission on Revenue Allocation, we are happy to partner with the National Taxpayer Association, and we appreciate the support of the Center for International Private Enterprises in this exercise. we will support you, and should you be meeting any challenges in collecting the data, we are willing to talk and work with you in this exercise. And the data to make a comparison with what we are finding from the micro, to run this document so that they bring for us more data which we are going to be able to be analyzing going forward. And I think